Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's Bellator 244 virtual media availability. We're looking forward to another great card at Mohegan Sun this Friday night with Bellator 244 Bader versus Nemkov. The event airs live on Paramount Network at 10 p.m. Eastern and will simulcast live on DAZN. On today's virtual media availability, we will have 10 to 12-minute blocks with each of our main card competitors: Ryan Bader versus Vadim Nemkov, Julia Budd versus Jesse Miele, Roy Nelson versus Valentin Moldavsky, and John Salter versus Andrew Kappel. If you have a question for the fighters, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. When it's your turn to ask a question, you will be asked to unmute your line and you will be able to ask your question. If you have any issues, you can send me messages through the chat feature, and we will begin right now with Vadim Nemkov. Our first question will go to Steve Jewin. Your line is live.
Thank you. My question for Vadim is, you've been training for this fight for over half a year now. How has the global pandemic affected your training getting ready for this title bout?
Ты на этот бой уже 6 месяцев тренируешься. Как эта глобальная пандемия повлияла на твою подготовку?
Увеличились нагрузки тренировочные и, соответственно, готовились именно под 5 раундов боя, такого, ну, грубо говоря, вязкого. И, не знаю, ну, готовились на 5 раундов вязкого боя, и поэтому поменяли все, и в тренировочный процесс, и все поменяли, весогонку поменяли, и поменяли даже где место проведения сборов.
He said basically, you know, I trained for a 5-round fight. We had to make some adjustments and time it the right way. But, you know, we pretty much had to rearrange the camp, weight cut, just about everything. But he's ready for a 5-round fight. So I can't wait.
Awesome. And you've beaten 3 former world champions already. How do you rank Ryan Bader in comparison to those other champions that you faced?
Ты уже побил троих чемпионов. Где Райан Бейдер котируется между?
Ну, Райан Бейдер, я считаю, что это боец примерно уровня Фил Дэвиса, ну, чуть получше Фила Дэвиса. Но я считаю, что Райан Бейдер и Фил Дэвис — это примерно похожие бойцы и стилистически. Так что я готов. Я уже встречался с топовыми бойцами такого уровня. Я готов к вызову этому.
He said to me, Ryan Bader is kind of in that Phil Davis category. Is very similar, and even stylistically, he feels like he's similar. And he has a game plan. He had a game plan for Phil Davis. He's going to have a game plan for Ryan Bader. As you mentioned, he's faced top competition already and came out on top. So he feels the same will happen on Saturday. Oh, sorry, Friday.
Very good. We look forward to the fight on Friday. Spasiba.
Our next question will go to Dmitry Kagan. Your line is live.
Вадим, здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Это драка, бой. То, что Бейдер дрался и что случилось с Фейдором, это по-другому чувствуется, чем другой бой, как у тебя был раньше? Или тебе то же самое бой, как бой? So my question basically was, considering the history that Ryan Bader had with Fedor and the fight that they had, you know, Ryan Bader coming out on top, does this mean more to him than any of his previous fights?
Сюда? Ну, это что? Я очень переживал, когда Федор проиграл Бейдеру в том гран-при финале. Но я постарался настроиться на этот бой. Прежде всего, эта победа нужна мне. Ну и, конечно же, хочется показать всю силу нашей школы Федора Емельяненко. И надеюсь, что получится выиграть бой за себя и за Федора, за всю страну.
Am I supposed to translate it in reverse? That fight?
He did it in English already, so
Just say what he said.
Yes.
Okay. I was obviously very disappointed when Fedor lost, but really this fight is for me, and it's for me to win. It feels good to win it and bring back a victory for the team, but this fight is for him.
Okay. And then, какая разница конкуренции, слово, по-моему, ты видишь тут в Америке в Bellator и раньше, где ты дрался в Sambo? So the question is, what is the difference he feels in competition, basically fighting here in Bellator versus his previous fighting competition in Sambo and basically Russian MMA?
Ну, конечно, это разные вещи. В боевом самбо любители, а здесь профессионалы с большим именем. И в боевом самбо единственная проблема в боевом самбо то, что ты выходишь против соперника, и ты не знаешь, что он делает, какая у него база, и тебе приходится подстраиваться под все во время боя. Здесь же ты просматриваешь бойца, готовишься на него индивидуально. Но тут в Беллаторе собраны мастера высокого класса, поэтому в Беллаторе, конечно, тяжелее, чем на чемпионате, чем в боевом самбо.
So combat sambo and MMA are obviously different. For one, combat sambo is an amateur sport. Here, they're professionals. The structure is different. Over there, you basically is a bracket-based competition. So you face whoever you face. You have no idea what they're going to do, and you have to kind of adapt in the middle of a match. Here, you're able to prepare for a specific opponent and have a strategy that you're trying to implement. And of course, the level of competition is different. The guys at Bellator are world-class, top-notch fighters. So it's definitely tougher to do it in Bellator.
Okay. И последний. Конечно, надо быть, осторожно с этой болезнью, что происходит. Но эти маски, что все одевают, ты чувствуешь, что оно меняет, как мы дышим? Как делает тяжелее или легче, или вообще нету никакой разницы? And the question in English, basically, with obviously the COVID restrictions, we definitely want to be safe and, wear our masks and all that. But does he feel like there's any restriction in, having a mask on basically 80% of the day that we're out?
Ну, если эти маски помогут человечеству и всем нам преодолеть эту болезнь или на какой-то процент хотя бы снизят численность заразившихся, то я только за носить эти маски. И можно потерпеть чуть-чуть и преодолеть эту болезнь все вместе. И я думаю, когда-нибудь мы их снимем, и все это будем вспоминать как страшный сон. Но пока надо потерпеть.
Терпеть, мешать.
Wearing these masks somehow reduces the risks to humanity and makes it even a little bit safer for everybody, and it contributes to eradicating this virus worldwide. Then we just suck it up and wear them. I mean, I'm sure day will come we won't wear them, and then we'll just look back at this as one big long nightmare. But for now, if they help, then I'm all about it. I'll wear them.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. Это я точно понимаю, что надо одевать, чтобы помогать, чтобы другие не болели, но оно мешает, вопрос главный, дышать тебе или нет. So basically the follow-up was, I definitely agree, we do need to wear the masks, to keep everybody safe. We don't want to spread any kind of virus. But as far as breathing, does it actually affect his breathing or not?
Да, дышать мешает, но это можно потерпеть. Маски, да, мешает дышать. Дышать мешает.
Спасибо большое. Thank you.
Yeah, it obstructs his breathing. I mean, he's not happy wearing it, but he'll do it.
Our next question will go to Jay Anderson. Your line is live.
Thanks very much. And Vadim, were you concerned at all that this fight wouldn't happen? And if Ryan wasn't ready to fight, or didn't want to fight during the pandemic, would you have been willing to take another fight instead?
Ты волновался, что этот бой просто не произойдет? И это первый вопрос. А вторая часть вопроса, что еще был бы шанс, что, допустим, Райан Бейдер не хочет биться во время этого вируса. И ты готов был тогда бы принять другой бой? Или ты бы ждал вступительный бой?
Я, конечно, переживал то, что Бейдер может либо не захотеть этого боя, либо подраться в тяжелом дивизионе. Пока эта пандемия, я думал, будут проблемы с выездом за границу. Но все как бы обошло стороной. Но если бы Бейдер не захотел со мной драться, я бы принял вызов любого другого бойца и подрался, так как смешанное единоборство – это наш заработок, мы этим зарабатываем деньги себе на жизнь, и если драться очень редко, то денег дома в семье не будет, семьи нечем будет кормить.
He said, of course, I was concerned about a lot of different things. I was concerned that Bader might want to defend his heavyweight belt instead of light heavyweight belt in the pandemic because he doesn't want to cut weight. I was concerned that there might be travel issues. I was concerned that we could go back into lockdowns. Many concerns. Luckily, all of them have surpassed, and we're now here and the fight's happening. But the second part of your question, yes, if Bader wasn't ready or didn't want to fight or whatever the delay was, he was ready to take on anybody else because, he's a professional fighter. This is how he earns his living. And if he doesn't fight, the family doesn't eat.
All right, our next question will go to Josh Gross. Scratch that. Our next question will go to Connor Northrup.
Hey, Vadim. Obviously, Bader has gone the championship rounds a few times. How have you prepared to go those championship rounds since you haven't done that yet in your Bellator career?
Конечно, мы знаем, что Бейдер может биться все 5 раундов, потому что он уже показал это в пару своих боев, титульных боев. У тебя еще не было 5-раундного боя. Как ты себя оцениваешь, как ты сможешь пойти 5 раундов, если нужно будет?
Все когда-нибудь случается в первый раз, и мы готовились к этому бою, выбрали тактику, надеемся, она нам поможет сохранить все силы, сохранить силу на 5 раундов. Для этого мы готовились, провели сборы в Среднегорье у нас в России, и я надеюсь, что это нам поможет. И у меня было очень много спарринг-партнеров, которые постоянно менялись и которые постоянно напрягали меня на тренировках на протяжении 5-10 раундов. Я всех выдержал. Сейчас согнать вес хорошо. У меня это вроде бы сейчас все хорошо получается, я себя хорошо чувствую. И надеюсь, что в пятницу 5 по 5 для меня не будет никакой проблемой.
He said, well, there's first time for everything. And this will be my first time going 5 rounds, but I've trained very hard. We've adjusted our training to make sure that I'm prepared for 5 rounds. We've gone to high altitude training. I've had multiple sparring partners that kept switching out where I always have a fresh guy on me. And I've gone as many as 10 rounds and was still able to perform at my best. We also have a strategy in how to conserve some of the energy and make sure that I'm able to perform for 5 rounds. So we'll see what happens, but he's ready for 5 rounds.
И я не считаю, что у него там были бои, как титульные бои, 5 раундов, в которые он дрался. Не сказать, что они были там очень изматывающие. С Филом Дэвисом они особо... Бой был скучным, неинтересным. А с кем он еще дрался? 5 раундов. Митрион он 3 раунда возил. Но в тяжах, когда он борол Митриона 3 раунда, он просто борол, и Митрион не особо умел, не хотел вставать. Я считаю, что 5 раундов 93 килограмма, если он захочет со мной 5 раундов бороться, то у него тоже должна быть хорошая выносливость.
He said, and to kind of point out that, Bader's 5-round fight with Phil Davis, for example, it wasn't very action-packed. It was kind of a little stale. So he wasn't that active in that fight. And, you know, in the heavyweight division, there were 3-rounders. And even with Mitrione, I mean, he wasn't trying to get up, so he didn't take a lot of energy to hold him down. He goes, if Bader wants to go 5 rounds with me and wrestle and be very active, then it's going to question his cardio as much as mine. So he's ready for it.
Our next question goes to Carlos Ortiz.
Would you be willing to fight at heavyweight for the title if you win this fight?
If he does what next week?
Can you repeat that?
Would you be willing to fight for the heavyweight title if you beat him for light heavyweight title?
Если ты побьешь Бейдера в 93, ты захочешь с ним биться в тяжелом весе за второй титул, который он держит?
Я не буду против, если мне это предложат, но в тяжелом весе у нас идет, на этом турнире будет драться Валентин Молдавский, и в случае победы, мне кажется, что он следующий претендент на титул в тяжелом весе. Так что если я постараюсь уступить ему, если он пройдет Рой Нельсона, и буду защищать титул 93, а там посмотрим, как пойдет дальше.
He said if I was offered a fight at heavyweight versus Bader for his heavyweight title, I wouldn't mind it. But being as it is, you know, he has a teammate, Valentin Moldavsky, who's fighting Roy Nelson, who is on his way to, you know, hopefully a title shot here soon. So he'd rather yield that spot to him if it's all the same. He'll just stay at 93, at 205 and defend his title there.
All right, and our last question with Vadim will come from Josh Gross. He's having audio issues. So the question is, how do you think this fight should be seen in the larger context of the light heavyweight division after John Jones relinquished his UFC belt? How should fans and media view the winner? Number 1 in the world?
Как ты думаешь, этот бой должен быть рассмотрен болельщиками и журналистами в контексте мирового ММА, не именно вот UFC и Bellator? Джон Джонс только что сдал свой пояс 205 в 93 килограмма. Кто выиграет этот бой? Ты думаешь, их нужно считать номер 1 в мире?
Я считаю, да. Мы на пару с Бейдером побили очень много топов в нашем дивизионе. Я считаю, что мы одни из самых лучших в своем дивизионе. И наш бой можно считать главным боем в нашем дивизионе в мире.
He said, I think so. He said, I feel like between me and Ryan Bader, we've beaten a lot of top competition in our careers. And, you know, this fight should be viewed on a more kind of global level of MMA, not just, you know, branded. And the winner should be considered number 1.
All right. Spasiba.
We're done?
We'll be back shortly with Jesse Miele.
Can I drop the mic? Oh.
All right, we're now being joined by Jesse Miele, and we will go to Steve Jewin for our first question. Your line is live.
Thank you, and thank you, Jesse. My first question is about the location of the fight itself, because you hail from Waterbury, so getting to have a fight with a big opportunity against Juliet Budd at Mohegan Sun Arena should be really joyful, but you can't have friends or family there during the pandemic, so is there also some sadness taking this fight?
A little bit, but you know what? They're going to be tuning in live. They're going to be able to see it live, right, at their TVs at home. I'm happy that they're at home so they can stay safe, not being in a giant crowded space with the whole COVID thing. So I'll be okay, and I'm sure that they'll be happy too.
I'm glad to hear that. And how do you prepare for somebody with the level of experience of Julia Budd going almost a decade undefeated before she met up with Cyborg?
Just one day at a time, in the gym. Luckily, she's got a lot of footage out there, so I could watch a lot of her fights. But, you never know what to expect. Everybody could come in the cage and anything can happen. So, just in the gym doing everything I can since I was able to go back to the gym that I could.
Do you feel that you were a little underrated before going into that fight with Toledo Nogueira? It seems like a lot of people picked your opponent for that fight instead of you.
Hey, you know what? I train an underdog. What can I say? I guess between my gym, IMBCT, and underdog, my footage hasn't really been out there from all the fights that I have had. I've been in the game for 11 years. I'm well-rounded, but I'm where I need to be right now. So if I keep working hard, it'll eventually show.
All right. One last thing before I let you go. Where did you get that nickname, the Widowmaker, from?
Sorry about that, Steve. Go ahead.
Oh, just one last thing. Where did you get that nickname, the Widowmaker, from?
Can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. The last question I had was, where did you get that nickname, the Widowmaker, from?
Originally, some of the guys in the gym said because I was a pretty tough chick, but it's actually personal to me. A lot of my family members and sponsors have had issues with heart attack, the Widowmaker heart attack. Technically, it's unsurvivable. You will die if you get, the Widowmaker heart attack, but a lot of my family has survived and have had some issues with the Widowmaker, and they survived, but in the cage, you're not going to survive.
All right, Jesse, thank you for your time. Have a good fight on Friday.
Thank you.
Our next question will go to Dimitri Kagan. Your line is live.
Hey, I just want to know, how do you feel going into this fight? Being the underdog, do you feel like you have something to prove? Even though it looks like you're ranked higher than Julia, do you feel like you have something to prove? And what is your game plan to, make your statement?
I'm going to put on a show. I'm definitely going to, after especially everything with COVID, there's just even a more appreciation for being able to have and be part of this event right now. After everything that's gone on, we didn't even know if anything was going to happen with fighting, with Bellator, with even being able to wrestle or touch each other in a gym ever again. So I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to show what I've been training for since I've ever started.
Awesome. Thank you. That was it for me.
Our next question will go to Kevin Shajan. Your line is live.
Hey Jesse, how we doing?
Good.
So your last two wins have been split decisions. Are you trying to have a finish or a submission to emphasize, hey, I'm not too far away from Cyborg?
Hey, I gotta say, I think everyone, when we go into any fight, we want to finish. We want to finish probably right off the bat so we can go, enjoy our day the rest of the day. But anything can happen. My game plan, I got a good game plan going in. And no matter what happens, I'm going to be ready for it.
So, okay, if you do capture the win on this Bellator 244, how far away do you think you are from a title shot?
I don't see it not being the next or so opportunity. I'll fight whoever Bellator puts in front of me, put it that way. But if it is a title shot next, I will be ready to plan for it.
Are you trying to run the fight with Leslie Smith bout that got canceled back in March?
Sorry, what was that? Could you repeat the question again?
Sure. The Leslie Smith fight, the one that got canceled in March. Do you want to run that back possibly with her?
Hey, I'm open to anything. To be honest, I think that Bellator has stacked the 145-pound division right now. They've got a lot of great fighters. If they put Leslie Smith in front of me, I'll fight Leslie Smith. If they put Cyborg in front of me, I'll fight Cyborg. I've already done 5-minute rounds with Charmaine Tweet up in Canada, so I'm ready for the 25 minutes, regardless if that's how far we got to take it. So whatever happens, I'm down.
Next question from Jay Anderson.
Hey, thanks very much. And, I know we talked about it a little. You did surprise a lot of people with the Nogueira win, I think. What was the reaction to that win like online from the fans and so forth?
Just like the question before, a lot of people see me as the underdog for every fight I go into, I guess. So at the end of the day, more power to them to see me as the underdog, and better for me for the upset, for them to be like, oh my God, who is this person and what just happened?
And you mentioned the uncertainty that came about because of the pandemic. How difficult was it to put together a normal training camp, or as close to normal as you could get for this fight?
Definitely different. It was a little bit harder, but there was always a way to make accommodations. A lot more personal responsibility. My coaches have always talked about homework. When we're in the gym, we're in the gym. When we're at home, we should be doing our shadow boxing and working out. And I paid way more attention and did way more of that this time around because there wasn't any time in the gym.
I was going to ask just that, if you had any time in the gym. Do you have like a home gym setup or anything like that?
Yeah, and we, eventually gyms did open, so I have had a couple weeks now, but there was a couple months where it was a little hard. So.
And last one for me. I mean, this is obviously a big fight. Were you surprised at all when Julia's name was offered, given she was, recently the champion?
Not surprised. I mean, surprised that it might have been as of right now in this timing, but I was pushing to fight her at some point regardless.
All right. Best of luck this Friday.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take two more with Connor Northrup next.
Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Now, you talk a lot about the underdog status and things like that, and it sounds like you kind of embrace that. But at this point, too, like fighting someone that has, Julia and like her history with the promotion as well, is this kind of like almost like a nothing to lose, everything to gain situation for you?
Somewhat, I guess, but for me, it's just also mentally that I'm going into this fight a lot more confident in my game, just being so much time in now. I just, I want to put it all out there. I want to put on a show for everybody, and I want to get the job done.
Yeah. Without too many details, too, I mean, just where do you feel like you've made the biggest jump since that Nogueira fight?
A lot just in the gym, being like before I was saying, just more appreciation of mentally, my mental game, just kind of seeing game planning. It's not just who's in better shape in fights. I feel like when you're an amateur, sometimes the better person in shape might be the winner at the end of the round. This time it's a lot more strategizing.
All right, and our last question will come from Alex Bahunin. Your line is live.
Hi, Jesse. How important will a win be over Julia Budd? And I guess it was kind of already alluded to, but do you think that warrants a title shot?
Absolutely, a win is extremely important, but mainly what I need to do is go in there and literally, get the game plan that I have and execute the way I want to execute. And as long as I do that, then I'm, I definitely think the title shot would be next. But like I said, it's up to Bellator and whoever they put in front of me, I'm down.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jesse. We're all good here, and we will be back shortly with Andrew Capel.
Thank you.
All right, we're now being joined by Andrew Capel.
Capel,
excuse me.
yeah, no problem.
Our first question will come from Steve Jewin. Your line is live.
Thank you, Mr.
Hey,
Capel,
Steve.
and thank you for the time. I want to ask you how you're feeling with almost a year gone by now since you were the man to retire King Mo, how that's sitting with you now, knowing that you took him out of MMA.
Well, I don't know if I took him out. He kind of took himself out. I think he had another fight on his contract left, and he wanted to go out with a W. I kind of spoiled that plan, but I have a massive amount of respect for him. And yeah, that's in the past now. It feels like a very, very long time ago. So I'm sure he's being very successful with what he chooses to pursue, just like he did with MMA. So I hope he's doing well with wrestling. And yeah, that's basically it.
Speaking of playing spoiler, though, you've got John Salter coming up, and he's a guy who always seems to be in the hunt for a title shot, never quite getting there. Do you look forward to spoiling his plans as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the game, right? And going in to win. Yeah, I think he's criminally underrated. I think he got screwed on a title shot from this. I don't know if it's because of the holdup. I feel like he should be fighting for the title, but I don't know if he just looked at me as an easy win or how I was pitched to him. But yeah, I think it was a mistake on his part, but I'll capitalize just like I did before. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think he's a very tough opponent, and yeah, it's going to be great.
Speaking of underrated, I think people might be sleeping on the fact that even though you finished King Mo, you've got a lot of submissions on your record, and submissions are Salter's specialty. So do you see this becoming like a human chess match?
Not if I have my way. I think it was a really good blueprint to watch Costello fight, the same card we fought on. I have a very refined and dangerous striking game. If I have the opportunity, yeah, I'll take the submission, but I think more likely the finish would be TKO from my side. I'm definitely not afraid to grapple. I think he has a pretty clear route to victory for what his game plan is, and I have a few more options. But yeah, I think it'll be a fireworks. It'll be an exciting fight. So he's going to come to win, and I'm doing the same. So I think style-wise, it'll be a nice matchup.
All right, Mr. Capello, we look forward to that on Friday, and hopefully everybody will know how to say your name after that fight.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Our next question goes to Connor Northrup.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Connor?
Good. Yeah, just kind of going off that last two, like you said, he's kind of in the mix, for that title. So where do you feel like a win over him puts you in that division?
I take one fight at a time. So I don't really look at, everything's kind of in the air right now with people being able to travel or who they're putting on or in what country. So honestly, my focus is complete tunnel vision on John Salter. So I only have a couple more days to visualize and focus on it and put all my energy into that. And then once the smoke clears, then we can talk about what's next. I'm like a one step at a time kind of dude. So yeah, it's exciting to be jumping right into the deep end of the pool and proving that I can swim. Yeah, it's just nice to be vindicated. And, there's a lot of people who don't know who I am. And they think that the Mo fight was a fluke. And I'm just looking forward to silencing those doubters. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to have that narrative when I put their top contender out. So.
Yeah. And just, going off of, your last fight, obviously that was your Bellator debut over, a well-known name like King Mo. And, Salter, I think, has a name to his own as well. But does this one, besides the current pandemic situation, how much differently does this one feel kind of the lead up to it?
Well, I feel like a lot has happened since my last fight. It's been almost a year. I've had a pretty big personal transformation. I won't have time to get into here, but the training was kind of changed. We had smaller groups and everything, and I was focusing on just like running and running hills and doing personal work in the garage in the bag for a little while, and I went on a road trip, and it's been a really powerfully transformative time right now, and it's an exciting time to be alive. So yeah, I don't know. I forgot what the question was. What was the question?
Just how much different do you feel from that debut up to this point?
Oh yeah, I don't know. In a lot of ways, I feel personally a lot different. I think fight skill wise, I'm always better every time I'm training, every time I'm trying to improve, every time I'm working on something. I feel like I'm always improving, but I think I had my biggest transformation training wise and skill wise once I moved to Colorado. A lot of different mind state changed and a lot of new people around me, and I think that really made my growth exponentially happen. But then there was also, a lot of base to pull from too, from all my training partners and coaches in Minneapolis. That was where I gained the bulk of my skill set, but I kind of refined it since I've been in Denver. And I'm kind of old. I'm at the end of my, career realistically. So I'm just kind of finally in the big show and going to make hay when the sun shines. So in some ways it feels a lot different. I feel like every fight is the biggest fight of my life. So I treat it that way.
Our next question comes from Carlos Ortiz. Your line is live.
How do you think fighting with no audience is going to affect you?
I'm looking forward to it, Carlos. I don't know. The bulk of my career, I've fought with almost no audience or like a very minimal amount of people where I can hear my coaches clearly and all that. So that's been something that I'm familiar with. It doesn't really matter because a lot of times actually the opponent I was facing was the hometown person. And so anything they did that got cheered really loud. And when I was winning or dominating, it was silent. So the silence is something I welcome. And I don't think it really affects me either way, to be honest. But yeah, I think if anything, it'll be a positive.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good luck.
Cheers. Thanks.
Our next question comes from Jay Anderson.
Andrew, you call this an exciting time to be alive, which I'm not sure everyone would necessarily agree with, but is keeping that sort of positive outlook important to you in the fight game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important just how to live your life, growth mindset over fixed. And everything's in how you interpret it. And I choose to interpret things positively, and positive things. Everyone's got their own dark night of the soul to get through. And I feel like I'm on the other side of it and just keep working toward, keep climbing. That's what I'm thinking.
Not going to lie, the age comment was kind of a dagger to the heart because I'm older than you, but how long do you see yourself continuing on, and have you thought about what you would want to do after your career?
Yeah, I mean, of course, those thoughts come into your head. I don't think I have too many years left in this game, I mean, touch wood, I've been fortunate not to have any major injuries or KOs or anything like that, and I feel like I'm still in my prime. But yeah, of course, martial arts will be a part of my life for the rest of my life. Like, I really enjoy teaching, or at least, doing jujitsu for the rest of my life for sure. I really don't know how it's all going to play out in that realm. I'm just focused on, like I said before, one day at a time and one step at a time. So right now the goal is to make prize fighting count, and then to do as much as I can with that.
All right, our next question comes from Kevin Shajan.
Hey, Andrew, how we doing?
Hey,
One
great.
question we have is, you said you're a man of one step at a time. Do you currently know how many steps it would be for you to get to the light heavyweight? The middleweight
I don't think
championship.
anyone really knows what's going on with the with the title picture. It's kind of a mess right now with Lovato leaving. It was never really something that was in my goal, in my crosshairs. I mean, if that opportunity presents itself, if I'm in that position, then of course that's what I want to fight the best. So the best would be the champion. I think Musasi is one of the best fighters at middleweight to ever live. I think I've been a huge fan of his since a very long time. I think Salter's up there. I think, Lovato was quite a scary cat. There's some other sleepers in there, like Tokov is really dangerous. Well, I used to be scouting a lot more than middleweights, but when I get like one opponent, I focus on that one opponent. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of good fighters that would be legitimate contenders for the title. It's not really my place to say that. I think my job is just to go in there and perform against the opponent that I'm contracted for. So I hate to keep saying that, but that's really all I care about right now is the next guy. That's all I'm focused on.
All right, Andrew. Best of luck.
All right.
Thank
We'll
you.
take one more question from Dimitri Kagan. Your line is live.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Dimitri.
So, quick question. Having said that, your next contracted opponent is John. Do you think you're a better grappler than him? And do you see, or what holes do you see in his game that you plan to take advantage of? I know you're not going to give away your game plan, but where would you like to take the fight, and where would be your realm?
On the feet, obviously, is where I hold the most cards. No, I don't think. I think he's probably in a grappling match. He'd sub me for sure. Well, maybe not for sure, but it's not a grappling match. It's a fight, and yeah, I think his strengths are obvious. Like, he submitted all his opponents except his last. Maybe he has except his last fight. It was a decision, but yeah, it's a fight. It's a 3-round MMA fight. There's a lot more involved than just jiu-jitsu. So I plan to make that apparent, and yeah, you guys will get to see a lot of an exciting fight for sure.
Do you think he has the wrestling ability to take it where he needs it, or do you think you have the defense to keep it standing in your realm?
I think it'll be a bit of both, to be honest. I think I'm going to be making him make bad shots, and then that'll get him tired. And I mean, he'll probably get me down at least once or twice. Like, I won't be surprised when that happens. I think the key is not getting to bad position when he does get me down, winning if he gets me down. You never know how a fight can go. I could KO him straight away, or who knows, he could take me down and break my shoulder or something. You never know how the fight game can go. You just visualize all different circumstances and you prepare accordingly, and you do everything you can to control what you can control, and then you surrender the outcome. And then whatever happens is, the result of the cosmos.
We'll do one last question with Matthew Putterman. Your line is live.
Hi, Matthew.
Hey, Andrew, my first question is for you. You know, what motivates you more, coming off a loss? Hello?
Sorry, Matthew, I missed that.
What motivates you more, coming off of a win or coming off of a loss?
Well, I guess neither really. I suppose I haven't had a loss for quite a while, and the losses I was suffering earlier in my career were due to a lot of different factors. My mind state predominantly and my approach to fighting specifically were the main ones. I don't believe it was so much of a lack of skill. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 17 years old. So I think a lot of different things kind of have come together the past few years. I've been winning since then. And like I said, what you surrender the outcome, then whatever happens, happens, and you won't have any regret if you do everything you're supposed to leading up to the fight. And that's where I've been at. So I don't know, man. I haven't lost for a while. And my losses I have suffered have feel like a very, very long time ago, and I was a much different person. But that being said, you know, it's MMA and anything can happen, and I'm comfortable with that. So I'm just really excited to finally do what I do. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Capel. We'll be back with Valentin Moldavsky shortly.
We are now being joined by Valentin Moldavsky. Our first question will come from the line of Steve Jewin. Your line is now live, Steve.
Thank you. And my first question for Mr. Moldavsky is, you're already being mentioned in title contention at heavyweight. Your teammate Vadim Nemkov said he'd like to see you get a title shot. So does this win over Roy Nelson get you that title shot?
Я понял. Ну, на русском тогда, да, раз вы здесь. Ну, я не знаю, даст ли мне победа над Роем, приблизит ли она меня к бою за титул. Пока я собираюсь просто победить, а дальше видно будет.
He said, I don't know if this win will get me, you know, closer to the title or get me to a title. For now, I'm just focusing on winning this fight.
Very good. And is this a case of two guys on different career trajectories? You've won 4 in a row. He's lost 4 in a row. Do you feel like you're going on different paths right now?
Поломался. Звук поломался.
Steve, you broke up a little bit there. Can you repeat the second half of your question?
Oh, yes. The question was, are you going in opposite directions right now with you having won so many in a row and him having lost so many in a row?
У него столько поражений, да, у Роя, да? На разных этапах. Я понял, на разных этапах карьеры, да. Как я к этому отношусь, да? Я не знаю, почему нам поставили бой. Ну, возможно, потому что он очень именитый дядька. Ну, не знаю, почему так поставили. Ну, у него все равно были хорошие бои. Он за 10 лет передрался со всеми топами в разных организаций, поэтому, в принципе, я рад оппонентам, а почему нас поставили, я не знаю. И как я отношусь к этому, я тоже не могу никакого отношения высказать. У него карьера заканчивается, у меня только начинается практически, поэтому не знаю даже.
He said, yeah, I mean, you know, Roy is probably winding down with his career, and obviously I'm starting mine. So I don't know why, you know, this matchup came about, but all I know is that Roy's tough. He's fought some of the best fighters in the world, and, you know, I'm ready to fight him.
All right, my last question, sir, is your teammate Vadim already talked about the difficulty of wearing a mask during these pandemic times, but that he's happy to do it if it helps to eradicate this virus. How do you feel about wearing a mask and the whole coronavirus situation right now?
Ничего не услышал, если честно.
Когда Вадима спросили про маску, ну, он сказал, что, ну, маска, конечно, не нравится, но если это поможет человечеству преодолеть
Понятно, понятно.
то я буду носить. Как ты относишься к маске и вообще к этому вирусу? Вообще, что происходит?
Ну, конечно, я плохо отношусь к тому, что это все началось, появилось. Ну, если да, для предотвращения распространения этой болезни нужно ходить в масках, можно походить в масках. Это не такое большое стеснение, чтобы отказаться от таких мер предосторожности.
He said, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not happy about the pandemic no more than anybody else is. And as far as masks are concerned, yeah, listen, if it helps stop this or stop the spread of it or prevent it, it's not such a big inconvenience not to wear it. So, let's wear masks.
All right, Spasiba, thank you very much.
All right. Our next question is going to come from the line of John Eric Poli. John, your line is now live.
Is Roy Nelson the biggest named opponent that you've ever fought?
Самое ли большое имя Рой Нельсон, с кем я дрался, да? Ну да, это очень знаменитый боец. Наверное, если так посмотреть, то на данном этапе, да, это самый именитый соперник из тех, кто был.
Yes, most definitely. At this point in my career, he's the biggest name I've fought.
And then touching off of something that was brought up before, he's lost 4 fights in a row now. So when you're preparing to fight him, do you look at that and say, this is going to be easy work, or do you prepare for him that you're going to get the best version of Roy Nelson that we've ever seen?
Я понял. Легкая работа, да. Я ни перед одним боем никогда не думаю, что это будет легкая работа. Это тяжелый вес, это Bellator, серьезная организация, где все соперники серьезные, ну и тем более, как я говорил ранее, это тяжелый вес, любой удар может стать последним, поэтому я ни к одному бою не относился, что это будет легко, и также на этот бой я настраиваюсь со всей серьезностью.
I've never taken an opponent lightly. This is Bellator. These are some of the best fighters in the world, and I'm also in a heavyweight division. One punch can change the outcome of a fight. So I've never taken anybody lightly, and I'm not taking Roy lightly either.
Our next question will come from the line of Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Thanks very much. And, Roy is a well-known veteran of the sport. We know he's got the big right hand, but he does have some good grappling chops as well. Are you expecting to see any of that in this fight?
У него хороший удар, но нет грэпплинга, да? Что незаметно было. Я не знаю, что вижу во время боя. Бой все покажет. Настраиваюсь на любое развитие событий. Готов работать с ним и в стойке, и в партере, и побороться в стойке. Предсказывать не буду, будет как будет.
He said, I really don't know what to expect. I know that I'm ready to stand with him if he wants to stand, grapple if he wants to grapple, wrestle if he wants to wrestle. Wherever the fight goes, I'm ready for it.
One of the side effects of the pandemic is going to be the empty arena on Friday. How do you think the lack of fans will play into things?
Играет ли то, что не будет фанатов, да? I don't know. Ой, все, тихо. Я не знаю, как буду себя ощущать, но думаю, так же. Безусловно, наличие людей имеет какое-то, я не знаю, не сказать, чтобы давление, но определенное влияние на эмоциональное состояние оказывает. Но сейчас будем без зрителей. Наверное, будет немного проще даже в какой-то мере, без этого гула и без людей. Наверное. Я не знаю тоже. Без людей никогда не дрался, поэтому не могу точно сказать.
He said, I really don't know what to expect. I mean, obviously, the crowd adds a certain degree of energy, but it also adds some pressure. He said, I really don't know. He goes, in a way, I'm thinking maybe it's going to be easier without the crowd. But really, I don't know. I've never fought without a crowd before.
Our next question will come from the line of Dimitri Kagan. Dimitri, your line is now live.
How are the travel restrictions different coming internationally, and how was cutting weight and just that last week of fight week different with the restrictions of COVID?
Сейчас во время этой недели это ковид-ситуация, как это влияет на твою подготовку по расписаниям? Он говорит, гонку веса.
Я не гоняю.
Вес не надо.
Не знаю как. Конечно, определенные коррективы пандемия внесла и в подготовку, и все остальное, но в целом хорошо подготовились, поэтому к бою готов.
He said, of course, the pandemic had some effect on our preparation and the fight week, but all in all, it wasn't that bad. And he's definitely ready for the fight. As far as weight cut, he's a heavyweight. He doesn't cut weight.
Yeah, I realized the weight thing after I asked. У Рой, конечно, есть сил, если он один удар, ну, попадет хорошо, где не видит, или правой. Ну, ты думаешь, у него есть скилл, чтобы близко достать тебя? И как ты планируешь его держать ну, дальше руками, ногами? Как ты думаешь, ты кончишь драку? Если бы ты мог выбрать. So basically, Roy obviously has the knockout power, to finish any heavyweight fight with one shot. How does he keep him or plan on keeping him on the outside? And in a perfect world, how does he see the fight ending?
Я не люблю предсказывать, как пойдет бой, поэтому я не знаю, каким именно образом я его остановлю. Конечно, в идеале, как и все, я хотел бы нокаутом в первом раунде, но предсказать я этого не могу. Как я его буду останавливать? Ну, послезавтра посмотрите.
He said, I can't predict how the fight will go. Of course, I want to knock him out in the first round, but that may not be possible. As far as how the fight will go, you guys will see it in 3 days.
All right. Our next question will come from the line of Kevin Shajan. Kevin, your line is now live.
One big question is, your mentor Fedor is close to retirement. One key question I want to ask is, do you see him possibly fighting for the title before he retires, or is that out of the question for him?
Он спрашивает, что ты думаешь, Федор будет биться за титул до того, как он перестанет биться? Или уже
Я не знаю, спросите об этом у Федора.
He said, I don't know, you have to ask Fedor.
One more question is, coming into this, you're really active. Your second fight in 6 months. If this is a quick fight, do you want to get back to the Bellator cage as soon as possible?
Быстро ли в течение 6 месяцев бой, да?
Да, если этот бой будет, быстрый и легкий, ты хочешь еще раз побиться до конца года?
Да, безусловно. Я надеюсь, что бой пройдет хорошо, я выиграю и не будет никаких травм, поэтому, конечно, я бы хотел подраться еще до конца года.
He said, yeah, I'm hoping for a quick fight or at least one without injuries so that I can fight one more time before the end of the year.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Carlos Ortiz. Carlos, your line is now live.
Do you believe Sambo is the best background for MMA right now?
Хорошо, самбо лучший бэкграунд для боев, да? Ну, не знаю, как так судить, лучше или не лучше. Ну, наверное, я думаю, все-таки лучше, если так посмотреть по результатам выступлений на мировых аренах. Боевые самбисты успешно выступают в различных организациях по смешанным боевым единоборствам. Поэтому я думаю, это хороший бэкграунд для смешанных единоборств.
I don't know if it's the best or not, but I know that the Sambo practitioners worldwide are doing pretty well in MMA. So it's definitely a very good base for mixed martial arts.
Thank you.
All right. And our last question comes from the line of Gilbert Kuda. Gilbert, your line is now live.
Hey, Valentin, let me throw you a question from MMA Torch real quick. You work with Fedor. We had your teammate on here earlier. Is there any pressure or feeling that you have to carry on some sort of legacy because you work with a legend like Fedor?
Какие-то ощущения, что работаешь с Федором, какое-то давление оказывает, да, ну да. Ну, это накладывает, конечно, определенную ответственность. Ну, я нормально к этому отношусь, зато ты с большей ответственностью тренируешься, готовишься, пытаешься выкладываться, поэтому не сказал бы, что это давление, я бы сказал, что это большая ответственность. Но я к этому нормально отношусь.
He said, yeah, there's an added pressure, but really I wouldn't classify it as pressure, but more that responsibility. And that responsibility helps you train harder, grind it harder, really give yourself to it. So I welcome it.
All right. Thanks, Valentin.
Все, овер.
Can I drop the mic again?
All right, guys. Thank you, Valentine. Appreciate it very much. We'll be joined by John Salter up next.
Get this.
We are now being joined by John Salter. Our first question comes from the line of Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
All right, thank you, John. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And my first question for you is that we already heard from Andrew Capel earlier on the call, and he said, I'll quote him, that he saw things in the fight with Costello Vancinas that he thinks will help because he had the joy of being on the same card with you. So obviously it's been almost a year since that fight now. So how much can he really gain from that? What do you think?
Hopefully I've cleaned up a lot of stuff that I needed to have better in that fight. But that was a fight that I put a lot on the line, so I understand that mentality. But hopefully we'll see a different fighter out of me on Friday night.
I'm sure we will. And given that he's got a lot of submissions on his record, I asked him if it was going to be a human chess match between the two of you, and he thinks it's going to be more of a stand-up fight. So how do you see the fight going?
He's a guy that obviously he's a good kickboxer, but he wins from everywhere. He's got several wins off his back and some wins from top. So I think he's a guy that's pretty comfortable going everywhere, but I'm pretty comfortable everywhere too. I think I'm gonna be a little better in those positions.
Very good. We've talked before about how you're perennially in title contention. Only guy that really knocked you out of getting a title shot was Rafael Lovato Jr. And then, of course, he vacated the title because of health problems. That was unfortunate. But now with this situation that we're in currently with the pandemic and everything else, where do you stand in line for that always there but never quite there title shot?
Well, I hope I stand at the top of the list now. I know with COVID going on, there's several guys that can't get in and fight. So I hope that puts me, especially with that going on, right at the top.
All right. We look forward to your fight on Friday. John, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of John Eric Poley. John, your line is now live.
Hey man, I wanted to ask you about your gym. You guys have a lot of fighters coming up that have a lot of fights in the next few days. Do you feel that you'll be setting the tone, kind of, that you'll be the first guy from your gym going out there and fighting in this couple-day stretch, busy couple-day stretch that you guys have coming up?
I hope so. I think a win here is going to be huge just to get everybody rolling, and then get 2 more wins in I think 4 days. So that's going to be really big for all of us.
And then one of your teammates, Selecki, actually tested positive for COVID, I believe. So I was wondering what that whole process was like with your gym when you guys found out that he had it and everything that happened there.
Yeah, we had to kind of scatter, work out from home for a little bit. It was 10 days that we had to deal with that. It was just minor setback, caused him not be able to fight in that fight. But everything's been good since, no issues since then. So we've been blessed on the backside of that.
And then just the last thing for me, also along the COVID lines, Bellator now, they're back for a couple of weeks. Just can you talk a little bit about this new process that's been going on and how you think it's been handled?
I think really well. It's obviously everybody's having to make sacrifices to be able to be here, but just happy to be here and be able to fight. I know a lot of people are out of work. A lot of sports aren't happening right now. So the fact that Bellator is going through the whole process to make this happen is great. And I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Damon Martin. Damon, your line is now live.
Hey, John, obviously big fight for you this weekend, but there's also a risk here. You're a guy, as we mentioned, probably right there in line for a title shot. Andrew, of course, not as well known, coming off a big win over King Mo, but do you enjoy that pressure? Do you like being the favorite, going into a fight where a lot of people are kind of watching you going into this one?
It doesn't really affect me one way or the other. And yeah, I think obviously I'm the favorite going in, but he's a tough guy. He's got a lot of wins, got a lot of fights. He knows how to win. And, this is a fight that I've got to treat just like I'm fighting for a title.
You obviously can't control the pandemic. Of course, what happened, we didn't get to see Gegard Mousasi and Douglas Lima fight for the vacant title. But just on a personal level, like, were you upset at all or bummed that hasn't happened? Because again, that fight happening kind of affects your future, because a win here, I think most people believe you should get the title shot. But again, you're still dealing with a lot of unknowns because we don't even have a champion right now.
Yeah, I hate that. I wish we could have had that fight, and that way we'd have some answers going forward on what's going to be next. But, it's just the way it happened, and hopefully we can get everything back rolling normal pretty quick.
Is there any part of you that feels like maybe a win this weekend you could jump in? I mean, we're dealing with travel restrictions. We've had to see some fights change. I mean, I don't know if you're up for fighting Gegard or Douglas, but I mean, would you be willing in that situation if one of those guys, depending, I know Douglas obviously lives in the U.S., but I don't know what Gegard's situation is. Like, would you be willing to maybe jump the line and try to get a title shot after this one?
Yeah, I think that'd be perfect. I think it only makes sense. We can't let the title sit vacant forever. So, me and Lima fighting for it, I think makes a lot of sense. I know he wants to stay active too.
And obviously it all hinges on this weekend. You've been a guy who's gone out and dominated and finished a lot of fights. Outside of that Lovato fight, you've been on such a huge win streak here. Do you feel like, every chance to fight is a chance to make a statement? Do you feel like maybe you need to make a bigger statement here just to kind of solidify your spot as that number one guy?
I mean, obviously, I think every fight, people always remember your last fight. So making a statement's big, but at the end of the day right now, I just got to go out there and get a win. And hopefully it's done in an exciting way. But, at the end of the day, I just got to come out with a W.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Thanks very much. And John, when we spoke to Andrew earlier, he referred to himself as old, said he sees retirement on the horizon, basically. You're the same age. Is that something you've thought of at all? Because obviously you do have the goal of the title still.
Yeah, I want that title. I'm not looking at that. And if I ever say that, my wife's not going to let me. So I plan on fighting for the title and keeping it for a while. So I'm not even thinking about retirement right now.
We've seen a lot of obstacles thrown up this year because of the pandemic, the travel restrictions, the empty arena. In terms of fighting without the fans, how do you see that playing into things?
It's going to be very interesting. I've known a couple people that have fought since then. I think at the end of the day, you kind of put all that out of your head once you get in there anyway. I don't think it'll change much. It might be better for me. I kind of blew my arms out on a choke against Vancinas that wasn't there, because when the crowd went crazy, it made me think I've got it, and I squeezed harder than I should have. So hopefully it'll make me not make mistakes like that. But I think other than that, I don't think it's going to be a big difference.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Best of luck on Friday.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Dimitri Kagan. Dimitri, your line is now live.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. So it's no secret, where your strengths are in this fight on the ground, and him being a kickboxer. Do you plan on standing with him and then, taking advantage of any tie-ups to take it to the ground, or is your number one goal to get it, in your world, basically?
I think this is going to be a fight where I'm not going to have that option to just put him on his back and go to work. I think I'm going to have to fight in every position on this fight, because he's a guy that's good everywhere. So, I got to establish myself on the feet early to get some, really make anything possible after that.
Okay, and having said that, have you worked on striking more at this camp than you normally would for your other fights?
I always kind of work on everything evenly. So I wouldn't say any more. Probably work striking a little differently than I have in the past, but not anymore.
How differently, in what way?
A while ago, I threw a lot more drilling in than anything else in striking. And then I went back to doing a lot of pad work. And this camp, I've gone back to doing a lot more drilling. I think it's just more realistic, and really work on moving my head and landing my shots and everything like that. So I think that, that's a positive to go that route. And I'm still doing pad work, but just more heavy on the drill side.
Perfect. Thank you. Good luck, and have a good one.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Our last question comes from the line of Kevin Shajin. Kevin, you are now live.
Hey, John. It's been a while since your last defeat to former champ Rafael Lovato. Since then, you won 2 straight. What's been the key difference, the key change from the last loss to now?
Not fighting Lovato. No, I think I've tried to change a lot since that fight. I had what I thought was 2 good rounds going into the third with him, and I tried to change a little bit of my conditioning. I got a conditioning coach and things, and then my last fight I faded again late, and I think I found the hole there, what my problem was. So I've tried to clean that up and make sure that's not an issue going forward.
All right. So another question is, if the fight is short, do you look for a quick turnaround, or do you plan on taking some time off, enjoying some time with the family?
I'd be happy with a quick turnaround. I know there's an issue with getting plenty of fighters fights, but there's also the issue of not getting certain people here. So if there's a quick turnaround, I'd be happy with that.
All right, John. Thank you so much. Good luck on Friday.
All right. Thank you.
All right, John. Thank you very much for the time. Up next, we have Roy Nelson. All right, we are now joined by Roy Nelson. First question is going to come from the line of Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
All right, thank you, sir. And I have just one question for Mr. Nelson, and then I'll get off the line. Roy, you've had such a legendary career already, so many great fights, so many accomplishments. If things don't go your way on Friday night, is this it for you, or do you keep on keeping on?
You know what? It's one of those things. You know, as long as I'm competitive, I'm okay with however. Because I mean, I know where I stand in the whole heavyweight division in the world, from UFC, from Bellator to ONE FC to the whole 9 yards. So as long as I'm competitive, I keep doing what I'm doing.
All right, thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of Giancarlo Alino. Giancarlo, your line is now live.
Hi, Roy. You competed on The Ultimate Fighter before, and you might have that experience now of not competing with too many people in attendance. Does that give you the advantage, you think, coming into this fight?
I think it gives the advantage is definitely changes your fight style, because you're not going out there and making sure you're pleasing the fans. So you're just kind of going out there and just, you know, getting the W any way you know how. I think that's the difference between when you're playing with fans live. You know, it's like a rock and roll concert. You got to make sure everybody's happy.
And how does that affect a fighter? Like, you've been around this sport a long time. Having no fans, does that really take a toll on a fighter, or is it just that it allows you to hear a corner more and helps you?
I think having no fans just makes it a little bit easier on what the plan is, the game plan. Like when you have fans, you kind of shift towards making the fans happy when you're here live. So I mean, that's the only difference versus like your game plan changes. You can stick to a game plan better.
Thank you very much, and best of luck on Friday.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of John Eric Poley. John, your line is now live.
Hi, Roy. I wanted to back up. 2 weeks ago, we saw Tim Johnson get a big win over Matt Mitrione, and you were celebrating on Instagram. You were very happy for your teammate there. Can you just put it into words, though, just how proud you were of him?
I was living vicariously through Tim because I've been asking for the Matt fight. I've been asking for a check. I've been asking for a lot of guys, and I just take fights whatever I get. So that fight was just one of those kind of just marks, because just telling Tim exactly how to beat him and how to basically just get the job done, and Tim executed a game plan that was flawless, besides a little headbutt.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too, because he said that in his post fight that you were very helpful to him during training camp. Now for this training camp for you, was Tim helpful to you just like you were to him?
I didn't really have Tim this training camp, just besides the I think we made it work specifically for me, like, because this was a short notice fight for me, so not really, because we're more for Tim, and then Tim actually had a fight, and then when he got back, he came back I think so I got like maybe one good sparring session with him.
And then just the last thing for me then, a few years ago, I was in Vegas and I stopped by Floyd Mayweather's gym just to see it. And you were in there doing some boxing training. So I was wondering, do you still go over to Mayweather's, and how have they helped you through your career?
Throughout my career, working out at Floyd's or Bones's, I pretty much I go everywhere I can find good work. So anywhere I can find good work and work with good people, that's where I'll go.
Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Thanks very much. And welcome back, Roy. I wanted to ask, at 44, what's the biggest difference in your training today from, say, 10 years ago?
10 years ago, the difference is not being able to find a gym now. I mean, this at 44, there's a pandemic, so finding a gym is really hard now. Back then, you could find a gym just throw a rock.
All right. Now, if you do get past Moldavsky, I mean, would you be interested in being one of Fedor's?
You know what? I've always wanted to fight Fedor. But I think if I get past Moldavsky, or when I do, I think it's time for me to actually start picking who I want to fight versus just taking whoever they give me.
And last one for me, you talked about, having the fans there, you kind of feel that pressure to put on a show. You've always been a guy who likes to entertain, though. Is that a change in mindset that you've had now, where you've got to start looking out for yourself more?
No, anytime I've always, because the fans are the ones that pays the bills, but it's just different when it's live, because they're not paying the bills now. Now it's TV stuff, so it's a little bit different. Now you just go out there and put on a show, but you just go out and win. And then that's all that matters, because that's all the network matters.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Arkady Sakovsky. Arkady, your line is now live.
Hi, Roy. How are you?
Good.
Greetings from Israel. My question is, you are an out artist. You prefer to stand and bang in a phone booth, but a lot of people don't know and maybe don't remember that you're an excellent grappler. Will we see that grappler?
You know what? I'm hoping we'll see all my versatile tool belt skills that I have in this fight, just because that's what my coaches want to see. So I have to give them what they're the only ones. They're the fans that I have that
if
are
anybody wants to hear how good your grappling is, they should hear Rampage's commentary on The Ultimate Fighter after your win against the late great Kimbo Slice.
Of course.
Good luck to you, Roy. Wish you well, and hope that you win, and maybe we'll see you fight for the title.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of Dimitri Kagan. Dimitri, your line is now live.
Hey, Roy, you spoke about picking your opponents. With Valentin being a up and comer, he's got an impressive record. Do you feel like he was not worthy of fighting you, or would you have just rather fought somebody else? And how do you feel about fighting him? Have you studied him?
Fighting, Valentin, I'm always gracious of, be able to fight, whoever, and especially up and comers, the whole night. It's just throughout my whole career, I've never actually picked a fighter, pick a fight where, but there's fights that are on my radar that I actually wanted, that it just never came to fruition just because, whatever politics are or not politics or how the game is played. But it's just, there's just fights that I want, and there's people I just want to beat up, and that's what it is. We're in the fight game.
I fully understand. You've been around the block. I mean, you deserved it. If you had your number one pick, who would be your number one pick or your top three?
Fedor's number, just like one of those legacy ones, but then a Matt Mitrione is I just want to beat him up and just make some money. That's just a
Who's the third one? You can't pick two. It's either one or three.
One or three. I gave you two, and then Jack Kong would be another. Because,
awesome.
Jack's right now right there on the. He just fought for the belt last, so and then I'd like to give him the chance to knock me out now.
Our next question comes from the line of Sergio Pinheiro. Sergio, your line is now live.
And it's not live.
Sergio, you there? All right, we're going to move on to Kevin Shajin. Kevin, your line is now live.
Hey, Roy, Big Country, how we doing?
Good.
All right, Roy, you've had a long career. Given the length and success of your career so far, what goal are you most proud of, and what else do you want to accomplish in your career before you retire?
I'm still just plugging away and doing what I'm doing. Right now, it's still for the belt, and then once I fight, I have it back. I'm good after that. It's just that's as long as I'm competitive. That's kind of how I see this fight game, because I just do what I love.
All right, last question from me is, listen, Valentin's an up and comer. It's been mentioned, but how much for to be playing spoiler party for this fight?
I love playing the spoiler party because I like to say, F you to everybody.
All right, well, thank you, Roy. Good luck. I hope to see a good old-fashioned Big Country knockout.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, our next question comes from the line of Alex Behunin. Alex, your line is now live.
Hi, Roy. Last weekend, the conversation was all about Stipe and DC, and that they are the best two heavyweights of all time. I think people forget that you fought both of them back to back. Do you have somebody on the top of your head who's the best heavyweight of all time?
Best heavyweight of all time depends on I guess I think it's styles and matchups. Because in the heavyweight division, it's literally it takes only one punch. I mean, you had Francis fight was it Jocko last week? With Junior. Francis fought. Is that his name? Was it? You guys are no help over there because you guys don't watch the UFC. You don't watch MMA. But no, just heavyweight division. Just one punch can definitely change. So heavyweight can literally just change. I mean, you have somebody that probably like Stefan Struve would probably beat Stipe again, just because of just the reach and it's just a style matchup. I mean, no one ever would go, well,
who knocked out Stipe on, be like, oh, it was Stefan Struve. You know what I mean? So in the heavyweight division, it's a big change of like how like the game's played, especially unless they're more athletic and then all they're doing is just playing tag and they're not really fighting.
All right, our next question is going to come from the line of Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Oh, hey, thanks. Just a follow up, Roy. I know you talked about, when I asked what's the difference between 44 and 34, the lack of gym availability. How difficult has the quarantine been on you in terms of getting the training you need? I know this is short notice, but you've got those extra restrictions.
Oh yeah, no, it's hard to grapple with a mask on and a plastic bag, all that. It's just this whole pandemic thing is definitely I just wish it wasn't a political year, and then maybe we wouldn't be talking about this.
Fair enough. Thanks.
All right, and our last question here is going to come from the line of Sergio Pinero. Sergio, are you there?
And he's not.
Sergio, can you hear us? All right. Well, that does it. Roy, thank you very much for the time. Up next, we have Julia Budd. One moment, please. We are now being joined by Julia Budd. Our first question will come from the line of Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
Thank you. And Julia, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for the time today. You're still a jewel to me with or without the title, but things didn't go your way in that Cyborg fight. So what I'm wondering is, has the pandemic actually been helpful? Most fighters would say not being able to fight for a long time has been a bad thing, but maybe it's given you more time to regroup and refocus after that loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely, it's been interesting times, but yeah, it hasn't slowed me down in my training, and it's just been, what the world is kind of, it's been interesting, but my training partner is Lance Gibson Jr. My coach is my husband, so we have a small bubble that we're already together all the time, anyways. So it wasn't that difficult to navigate it.
Very true. And Jessie was on the line with us earlier, and she said that she's from Team Underdog, so it kind of fits for her to always be the underdog in every fight. But do you see yourself being the spoiler to her being a spoiler?
No, I just see myself being victorious on Friday night. I'm excited to go out there and put on a show. And you know what? I never underestimate anyone. So I'm ready for this fight, and I'm excited to be back doing what I love.
Absolutely. We're excited to see it. My last question for you is, you already mentioned being in that small bubble with your husband as your training partner, but have you brought in anybody else for this camp to help you work with the style that Jessie presents?
Yeah, definitely. We've got a small group of guys that I've been kind of rolling with and sparring with that, my regular training partners, but they're great on the ground, and we've just been practicing, getting ready for this style specifically. We've kept it small, but definitely I've had my regular crew in there with me.
All right. Well, we look forward to the jewel shining on Friday.
Our next question will come from the line of Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Thanks very much. And Julia, I just wanted to ask, first of all, you did mention, obviously, Lance Gibson Jr. is your training partner, your husband is your coach. How important was family to bouncing back from that Cyborg loss, mentally, emotionally?
Yeah, very important. I mean, it's the people around me pick me up. My community picked me up. It was that night when I came out of the arena, there was like 60, 70 people in a big circle, giving me hugs. And it right away made it feel I don't know, it was special. Even though I lost, it was still felt great to have the people that love me around me. And I think that's important for athletes to have people around them that believe in them and, just have their back regardless of win or losses.
Was there any hesitancy on your part going to the U.S. to fight right now, given how worse the States has been hit compared to Canada by the coronavirus?
No, I knew Bellator was doing an amazing job. We got sent packets of kind of what the protocols were going to be, and it just felt like, and even since I've been here, it's just so professional, and I feel safe here. So they're doing a really amazing job, and yeah, I'm confident I'd come back and fight here during this time over and over again if we have to.
And last one for me. As a former champ, obviously the goal is to get back to the title, potentially get back to Cyborg if she still holds it. How far as a former champion do you think you'll have to go for that? Like 1 fight, 2 fight? What do you think the possibilities are?
I don't make those calls. I got to go out there on Friday and make a statement of who I am and why I belong right back in there.
All right, our next question comes from the line of Giancarlo Alino. Giancarlo, your line is now live.
Hi, Julia. As mentioned there, this is going to be your first fight since the loss to Cyborg. Before that, you hadn't lost a fight in 9 years. So what did you learn from that? Like, what were some of the takeaways from that loss that you feel helped you as a professional?
Just looking at, technical errors that I made during that fight that kind of got that outcome. So it was good for us to go back, see kind of where I made some errors and what I can do better. And overall, just finding that hunger again right after that loss. It took me a couple weeks to kind of break it down with my coaches and my team, and then right after it was the beginning of February, we were like, you know what, we got to get back in there. And then the pandemic hit, so it's been an interesting last couple of months, but I'm ready.
And final question for me. We've seen all these other divisions like heavyweight, welterweight, featherweight have their own Grand Prix. With the landscape of the women's division right now and women's MMA, do you think Bellator should set up a women's Grand Prix?
Yeah, it would be amazing. It would be super exciting. It's definitely a good idea, and I'd love to be a part of it.
All right, our next question will come from the line of John Eric Poli. John, your line is now live.
Hi, Julia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. So I wanted to ask you something that you touched on a little bit here. You've been saying, obviously, your husband's one of your coaches. So I was wondering, how has he helped you out not only as a fighter, but just with life in general?
Oh, well, he's he fought back in the day. He's a warrior. So he's been there throughout my entire career, kickboxing and MMA. And we're partners in life, but also in the cage and business and everything. So definitely he's helped me out in every area.
And then we don't see a lot of people in general fighting into their late 30s, and especially not at the level that you are. What's the secret to longevity in the sport?
I just staying ready. I think that it's not taking big breaks off in between fights, healthy nutrition, diet, staying mentally, physically, emotionally strong throughout life. It's just, I remember earlier on my career, I took longer breaks off and would go up in weight and kind of not be as healthy in between camps. And as I got older, I realized, I got to take care of injuries. I got to make sure that I, cover every base. So that's one of the tricks.
Our next question will come from the line of Arkady Sakovsky. Arkady, your line is now live.
Hi, Julia. Great to speak to you again. It's been a while from Untitled Channel in Israel. How are you?
Hello.
I wanted to ask you, how eager are you to get the rematch against Chris Cyborg? Hypothetically speaking, maybe she will lose the belt. Excuse me for cutting you. Maybe she will lose the belt, and there will be a chance to fight for the belt or fight against Cyborg, a rematch. What will be your pick? That's the follow-up.
I'm excited. I mean, the thing is though, is that I'm focused on my fight Friday night. So I gotta go out there and make a statement on Friday night before I even look at that. So right now I'm not really focused on that, but of course, being champion is my ultimate goal. So being champion again. So yeah, but Friday night's what's important, and that opponent's what's important right now. So that's who I'm focused on.
Thank you, Julia, and I wish you good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is going to come from the line of Kevin Shajan. Kevin, your line is now live.
Hey, Julia, looking back through your career, you've only had 3 losses, and, those 3 losses have been to Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes, and recently Chris Cyborg. When you look at those 3 women, have been known to be one of the greatest fighters in the women's division. Ronda Rousey being a trailblazer, Amanda Nunes being considered right now one of the GOATs. Looking back at that, knowing that, you only lost to the best of the best, does that give you motivation? Hey, if I can only lose to the best of the best, that's how close I am to the top.
I don't want to lose to the best of the best. I that is something, none of those losses are something that sit well with me, because losing sucks and I don't want to lose. So when they drive me, those failures drive me to be a better mixed martial artist and to become better. But none of those, I'm not happy with any of those losses on my record. So they motivate me, and yeah.
All right, with the motivation going on, like we saw, one of the previous journalists said before me, no one sees fighters fighting into their late 30s. How many fights do you think you got, in your system before you got it? You say, you know what, it's time for me to ride off into the sunset.
I can't really decide that right now. I feel fantastic. But I think that it'll be something that I have a conversation with, my husband and my family, and when we decide to hang up the gloves. But as of right now, I'm hungry and I want to be champion again. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing on Friday night.
All right, our last question will come from the line of Alex Behunin. Alex, your line is now live.
Hi, Julia. Were you disappointed that you didn't get an automatic rematch after your long winning streak and defending the belt 4 times?
I wouldn't say disappointed. I think that I would just say that I want to go out there and make a point and make a statement on Friday night to show why I deserve that rematch or why I deserve the next title shot. But as of right now, I can't look past it, and I'm focused on this fight. I'm just excited to get back in there. The world has been turned upside down with the pandemic and with everything like that. So to be back in fighting is like a dream come true, and it kind of feels. I'm just excited. I don't know how else to explain it, but I'm going to go out there and make a statement on Friday and let everyone know that I'm still at the very top.
And then one last for me. How do you see yourself winning?
I'm going to be working for a finish, first round, second round, third round, whatever it takes, but I'm coming out with my hands raised.
All right, Julia, thank you very much for the time. Next up, we have Ryan Bader momentarily. Thank you.
Okay. I was like, Ryan Bader's interviewing me?
All right, we are now joined by Ryan Bader. Our first question will come from the line of Giancarlo Alino. Giancarlo, your line is now live.
Hi, Ryan. You're coming into this fight now defending your light heavyweight championship. You were on the Ultimate Fighter before. Do you think that gives you some sort of advantage coming into this with no fans?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've wrestled in front of, wrestling's not a hugely popular sport. In college, we wrestled in front of a couple hundred people. That was one-on-one sport, going out there and competing and dead quiet. Been on the Ultimate Fighter, going out there with your team and, a couple coaches, maybe 30, 40 people in the whole thing in a warehouse, and you're warming up in the back with, you can't hear anything. There's no crowd, So I'm actually relishing this whole week. It's low key. I get to walk out there like it's a hard Friday morning spar. We have we speak different languages, myself and my opponent, his cornerman. So, I can kind of tone them out and listen to my corner, and all the hoopla is kind of gone, which is good and bad. But I think it's something different. I'm excited about it, actually.
And how were you able to train during this pandemic? Like, I know a lot of fighters had something differently. Maybe some had to change the way they met with their sparring coaches and wrestling. So how did this change training for you?
Yeah, pretty fortunate in that aspect too. We had a building that, we train in. We have a cage, mats, and all that weight equipment, but it's not open to the public, and it never was. So it was just a pro team, and so we cut down that pro team, and I used 3, 4, 5 guys that high level that I needed for this fight, and we got tested every couple of weeks. We were clean, made sure everybody was safe, because the last thing I wanted to do is go through another training camp, wait some more, get here and get canceled because somebody has COVID. So I was able to keep my training pretty consistent and pretty much the same. The only thing, I usually bring people in, I usually bring a decent amount of Brazilians in, but this time I didn't. I kept with the crew that, I was working with.
And final question for me, looking at heavyweight and light heavyweight, which division do you think poses the best challengers for your title?
Both of them really, I was up after I did the heavyweight Grand Prix, Bellator asked me to defend the heavyweight title, and I did that. And during that time, light heavyweight kind of, they came up with a true contender in Nemkov, so, he kind of rose up and did very well. And so now we're back down, and I can jump back and forth. I see great matchups in both of them, being down here right now, go out there, get this win this Friday. I probably want to stay down here at 205 for one more fight, while I made the weight, my body's primed for it, and then, keep bouncing back and forth.
All right, our next question will come from the line of Josh Gross. Josh, your line is now live.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
What's going on, Josh?
I'm wondering, it's the first fight for you, 205, since 2017. You talked about you're comfortable with the weight and you feel good. Was there a process? Was there a game plan to get back to 205? How did you manage it to make it so seamless for you?
Well, we had a fight booked in May, and thinking about that, and then then COVID hit. Nemkov is from Russia, the whole travel ban, all that. So we were thinking maybe it's heavyweight. Probably about 4 weeks ago, I kind of learned that, all right, we're going back down to light heavyweight, and so I always kept myself in a good weight in between. And so it really wasn't bad at all. I left Arizona around or just under 220. Well, weight's good, and so just getting the last little bit off. So just eating clean, eating healthy, which in turn, I feel like upped my game a little bit because I was extremely healthy through the last 4 weeks. Where at heavyweight, I'm like, all right, if there's something there, I want to eat it. I'm a heavyweight, whatever, I'll eat it.
This fight at this time, yesterday it was announced that John Jones is relinquishing his 205 title. All of a sudden, it seems like globally the light heavyweight division's opened up. Like, who is the number one guy? What put this fight on Friday in context in terms of that picture? What does this fight determine in terms of who's the best light heavyweight in the planet?
Yeah, arguably you can say that, winner of this fight, is the best light heavyweight out there right now. How can you not? We've both proven ourselves. I know he's more inexperienced a little bit, but he still has 13, 14 fights. I've been there, done that. I'm a double champ. I fought in both organizations. I'm 13-1 in my last 14 fights, and with 1 no contest, which, is what it is. And then, so my question is, how can you not say that?
For the people who don't see that, what is your response to them? The arguments are, it's not in the UFC or whatever the argument is. How do you say, if I win this fight, I am the number one guy?
I don't know. You look at my resume, look at who I beat, look at my, my wins. And if you go through that and look how much I've grown these last X amount of years, or 3-4 years, like I haven't lost in, I think, the last 4 years. It's not like I'm fighting bums out here. I'm fighting the best competition out there. And I've been a, perennial top 5 guy in the UFC, before I left. And I've grown so much since then. So, it's just, I'm leaps and bounds better than I was 5 years ago, better than I was a year ago, and ongoing.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Our next question comes from the line of Connor Northrup. Connor, your line is now live.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Good. You?
Not too bad. Thanks for asking. You're a guy like the guy was just saying before. You fought at light heavyweight, you fought at heavyweight, but with the news of Jones too, and someone who has fought Jones in the past, how do you feel like he fares up a weight class?
I think he's going to do very well. He's a bigger frame guy anyway. He's tall and he's lanky. I think his length is going to cause a lot of problems, and he's going to be a lot faster than a lot of these heavyweights. One thing I realized going up to heavyweight, that my speed, was definitely there, and your cardio and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. And so I think he's going to do very well. Obviously he should jump into, a title contention fight or for the title, so, you can't discredit Jones. He's one of the best of all time. So going up to heavyweight, I don't see a real big difference. Those guys are big at light heavyweight, and he's just going to be even more faster.
Yeah. And you talked about your weight cut too and how it is going pretty smooth. But the fact that you are a little older now too and you haven't cut that weight in a while, did you have to make any different adjustments than maybe, 3 years ago?
Just being a little more healthy in my eating and watching it a little more, tracking it. This fight was somewhat short notice as far as weight class. And so I immediately hit the ground running, and was extremely, extremely clean and kept everything tracked and all my food. And so it actually turned out really well. I've been feeling great. It's probably yesterday I worked out, probably the best I've ever felt fight week. Maybe my body just likes to lose that extra, 15 pounds that I usually have on me. And I was feeling awesome. My speed was there. Felt great in my head, so for me, it's being a little more disciplined, but in the same time, that only helps me in the long run.
All right, our next question will come from the line of Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
Thank you, and thank you, champ, for the time. I appreciate it. I'd like to know with that Czech Congo fight, obviously that was not the outcome you were looking for, but now you're back in the light heavyweight division and defending that title, your 2 titles. So when you get back to heavyweight, do you want to give Congo another opportunity, or would you rather take an up-and-comer like Valentin Moldavsky if he wins on Friday?
Yeah, I definitely want to get that Congo rematch. I think there's unfinished business. We've been going back and forth for a while, and I still think it's, kind of cowardly what he did, and then, try to run with that whole thing. And so, and then continually talk smack, so it's one of those things where I definitely want to get that back. There was talk about maybe fighting him this summer if Nemkov couldn't get into the country and all that. So it's just one of those things where it's just unfinished. And so definitely, when I go up to heavyweight, I want to fight him.
All right. And my other question for you is, obviously everybody's thinking about this John Jones thing with him just vacating the belt. Do you feel like in some ways that was a calculated move on his part to overshadow you having arguably the best title fight this week?
No, I don't think it was anything towards me. I think it's, for him, a lot of people pay attention to the heavyweight title, and I think after he watched DC and Stipe go at it, and he was like, man, I can beat these guys. I can beat Stipe and whatnot. Thinking that in his head, he's like, I'm going to go up for the heavyweight title, and so it's the biggest, most prestigious, title out there. So at heavyweight, so I think he's kind of in that mode of thinking. And he's always kind of alluded to he was going to go up one day. And I just think he thought now is the time.
Well, now will be your time on Friday
Our next
night,
question will come from the line of Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Thanks very much. And Ryan, welcome back. First of all, just want to know, just mentally, how frustrating was it? How difficult was it when this fight was pushed back? Because you were preparing for a fight in May.
Yeah, I mean, I fought in September. I was preparing for a fight. Scott Coker and I were trying to get that Ryzen fight for the title and, the New Year's Eve card. We were trying to book a fight in February in Arizona. The venue fell through. And then we had one finally booked in May. And then obviously COVID hit, and, nobody's fault, and it got pushed back. And so I'm just extremely grateful to be here right now. There's so many variables right now that are happening, guys getting to fight week, popping up, testing positive. And luckily, we did our test. We're all good. We have one more. Weigh-ins are tomorrow, and we're here finally. And so I'm just fortunate enough that I get to fight. I'm fighting for a title. I get to work basically. A lot of Americans are out there that don't have jobs. And so I'm just very fortunate right now.
One of the wrinkles here is the empty arena. You did fight on The Ultimate Fighter. Do you think that's prepared you for it?
Yeah, when you get into a fight, you really kind of you don't have any distractions. You can't really hear anything outside world too much. You're in your own world, but it takes a little bit of that, like the hoopla away, a little bit of that nervous energy that a crowd brings. And there's pros and cons to it. I think, it's fun to get a win and the crowd's cheering and all that. But for me, I'm going to embrace it. I've been there. I've done that. I'm going to go out there. It's going to feel comfortable. I'm going to hear my coaches. Like I said, the hoopla is kind of gone. So when I can go out there and think and be comfortable, clear-headed, that's when I fight my best.
Our next question will come from the line of Damon Martin. Damon, your line is now live.
Hey, Ryan, when we talked a couple weeks ago, it was before a lot of this stuff happened. I know the conversation was already brought up about you being the number one guy in the sport, now with John Jones out of the division, things like that. But, we had this conversation years ago about the whole Pride versus UFC debate, when one guy was in one league, guy in another league. But do you feel like you're getting the respect you deserve, as Bellator, double champ, heavyweight, light heavyweight, or does that even matter to you?
It doesn't really matter. I know how good I am. My team knows how good I am. Bellator knows how good I am. So for me, it's just that's what it is for me. But I think you're seeing a little bit more of, hey, is this guy the best light heavyweight out there right now with Jones going up and everything? And I believe it is. I believe the winner of this fight, is definitely in the consideration of the best light heavyweight out there right now.
Does that, I don't want to say adds pressure, because I know you told me you kind of at this point don't really feel that pressure. You kind of go in loose and just kind of enjoy yourself in the fights. But do you feel like that's a chance to kind of make that statement? The timing couldn't be more perfect with a big title fight coming up on Friday, and now we're kind of defining the light heavyweight, best light heavyweight in the sport. I mean, do you feel like that's a chance for you to kind of submit that spot?
Yeah, it's definitely, a time, especially, with Nemkov, he's one of those guys that people are like, oh, he's the next guy. He's an upper-comer, this and that. And he will be a champion one day, but he won't on Friday, and so this fight is definitely one of those fights where, like I said, very well may be the best light heavyweight in the world right now. But for me, there's pressure every fight because I like to win and I'm a competitor. And so no fight's really different, added pressure, less pressure. You have the belts. I have 2 belts, but I'm looking to go in there and win regardless.
Do you feel like that mindset is a big key for you finding the success that you've had? Because I know we've talked in the past, you did put a lot of pressure on yourself and going into certain fights and things like that. Do you feel like that mentality has been a big part of the success you've found lately?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this too, and there's a fight, with Anthony Johnson that I went there. There's a lot of pressure, potential title shot, in the future, all that, and I didn't perform. I didn't show up. One of the only times I really didn't. And so after that fight, I always told myself before these other fights that, what, you're going to go out there, you're going to have fun, you're going to perform, because when you show up, and you usually do pretty damn well, and so in the meantime, since then, I've been undefeated. I'm 13-1 with 1 no contest test in my last 14 fights, and so it's a different mind frame, a mindset, and I threw myself into that mindset wholeheartedly.
And my last question, when you were at heavyweight, and Scott Coker said you were the best heavyweight in the sport, and you said, I do feel like I am the best, and no offense to Stipe or anybody else out there, but the fact that Bellator is going out and getting a lot of these guys that are that other competition, obviously Lyoto Machida is coming in. We talked about Corey Anderson coming in, heavyweight the same way. We've seen a lot of guys coming in at heavyweight. Do you feel like that's a big part of you defining, your legacy and defining your career as the number one guy, because you are facing well-known top competition right now?
Oh yeah. And I love seeing guys like Corey Anderson come in, and there's top guys, Phil Davis has been a top, I believe top freaking 4 guy, for, the last 10 years, and so a lot of people look and say, oh, UFC and Bellator, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what organization you're in, there's badass competitors, for me in both weight divisions, and I've been there, done that in UFC too, and I've just continued to grow since then, and so, man, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying where I'm at, and I'm just looking to keep that ride rolling.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
All right. The last question of the day here is going to come from the line of Dimitri Kagan. Dimitri, your line is now live.
Hey Ryan, you mentioned you want another fight at light heavyweight after this one. Hypothetically speaking, if this fight didn't go your way and you didn't get the rematch as the next fight, would you still want to stay at light heavyweight, or would you want to go up and defend the heavyweight title?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of different variables there, but yeah, it all depends. I mean, yeah, if there's a great fight there at light heavyweight, fun fights would be somebody like a Machida, but I plan on winning this fight. I plan on going out there and beating Nemkov, and then and turn it around pretty soon and doing the light heavyweight title fight again. There's a couple of matchups out there that I like. There's Corey Anderson in the wings. There's Machida out there. I know there's some fights being worked out, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Do you feel like you will prove your point if you take out Nemkov that, you got Fedor's team covered?
Yeah. I've been here to this Fedor thing, and Fedor's, he's Nemkov's his protege, all that. How am I reacting to that? I don't really, give a shit, really. I mean, Fedor was in there for 35 seconds. All he could say is how fast and how hard I hit. Basically, we never got into any grappling exchanges, any clinches, and so that doesn't matter. It's one of those things where, yeah, he might have watched tape prior to our fight and he can pass that along, but Nemkov can't, tag in Fedor and both of them come out and fight me. It's Nemkov and I out there, light heavyweight strap, and I'm going to come out victorious.
Of course. And having seen Nemkov in action, what weaknesses do you see in his game that you'll be able to take advantage of?
Yeah, I have a lot of good things to say about Nemkov, but experience was one huge factor I see. He's been to, I think, 1 3-round fight, in his wins, and he was utterly exhausted in that Phil Davis fight. During the Phil Davis fight, Phil was on top of him, had his wrist, had some submissions, and Nemkov couldn't move under there. So I'm going to keep that pressure the whole time. This is a 5-round fight. I've been there. I'm proven in 3 rounds. I've been proven in 5 rounds, and that's going to be the difference.
All right, that will conclude today's media availability. We wanted to thank everyone for joining us, and thank you as well, Ryan. And as a reminder, tomorrow's ceremonial weigh-ins will take place at 11 a.m. and will be streamed on Bellator's social media platforms. We hope to see you all then. Thank you.